Republicans in New Orleans played their own version of Hail to the Chief this afternoon, a triumphant welcome for Ronald Reagan. Good evening. The president was in the limelight today as delegates to the National Convention prepare to nominate George Bush. The president will address the full convention tomorrow night, and standing by in New Orleans on the eve of the GOP convention is Channel 4's Clarice Tinsley. Clarice, I would imagine there's a little bit of anticipation in the air.
Oh, Barbara, just a little bit. Of course, there's a great deal. Governor Bill Clements has also arrived in New Orleans today. Governor Clements is the state delegation chairman. His wife, Rita, is an alternate delegate. The governor appeared upbeat and said he's confident George Bush will win Texas in November. Tonight, the governor and First Lady of Texas are being officially welcomed to New Orleans at a reception given by fellow members of the Lone Star State delegation. And this day really belonged to Ronald Reagan. Let's go now to Richard Ray down in the Superdome. And, Rich, you were at the GOP rally the president attended upon his arrival.
Clarice, to no one's surprise, Ronald Reagan got a rousing reception here in New Orleans, but his rally was marred briefly by a protest and a scuffle in the crowd. The afternoon rally had a Mardi Gras flavor with floats, music, and the party atmosphere that's characterized all events here. By the time the Reagans arrived, the convention center was packed. But just as the president began to speak, about a dozen AIDS protesters started chanting and waving signs. Reagan is a murderer! Several burly men in suits waded through the crowd and began pushing, shoving, and kicking the protesters. To the cheers of the crowd, the protesters were quickly led away and their signs torn up. Back at the podium, President Reagan touted George Bush and attacked the leadership of the Democratic Party.
It's time to talk issues, to use the dreaded L word, to say the policies of our opposition and the congressional leadership of his party are liberal, liberal, liberal.
In all, Reagan was to use the word liberal or liberalism more than 24 times. And after being presented with a huge Gipper gavel, he told the crowd he couldn't wait to use it at his next meeting with the Democratic congressional leadership. There's an old saying, it's time to step back and let the big dog drink. Clarice, the big dog's come to town.
You have a Texas way with words, Rich. Thank you. 111 Texas delegates and 111 alternates are anxiously awaiting the first drop of the convention gavel tomorrow morning at 10, Dallas-Fort Worth time. Channel 4's Steve Stoller is standing by live on the convention floor, which will soon be packed with delegates. Steve?
The floor is very quiet tonight, Clarice, but not for long, because tomorrow morning these chairs will be filled with Texans. Texans who say they will yell loud and long for George Bush. A Louisiana-based energy company sponsored a welcoming party for Texas delegates. On hand were a list of Lone Star State dignitaries, including the delegate who will announce the roll call vote for Texas, George Bush Jr., the vice president's son.
This has been a long time coming for the Bush family and for our leader of our family. He is preparing the speech of his life right now in Washington. I'm looking forward to it. I know he's going to do well.
The hot topic among Texas delegates tonight is still who George Bush is going to pick as his running mate. Governor Bill Clements wasted no time in telling reporters who he supports as he arrived at the delegation headquarters.
Gene Kirkpatrick has been my candidate, and I'm not one to change horses in the middle of the stream. So I'm still a strong supporter of Gene Kirkpatrick's.
George Bush Jr. told us that each night of the convention will have a special theme. For example, tomorrow night will be Ronald Reagan night as the president addresses the convention, followed by Dukakis definition night on Tuesday, Who is George Bush night on Wednesday, and finally George Bush himself and a vice presidential nominee on Thursday. The excitement of this historical event is about to explode. Clarice?
Thanks, Steve. Well, not everyone in the grand old party is partying at this hour. Joining us now is Texas Republican Party Chair Fred Meyer, and thanks for joining us on the eve of the convention. Do you have any idea about the name that's going to go below George Bush's name on your party's ticket?
No, I don't. And I don't think it's real important to those of us in Texas, because we are so delighted that George Bush, a Texan, is the nominee of our party, that whomever he picks will be fine with us.
Do you have any hope for us?
No, I think that they will make a very sound decision. The goal is to get 270 electoral votes. And I'm sure that Lee Atwater and the rest of the insiders are looking very carefully at the qualified list to see who will ensure that we get those 270 electoral votes, because we want George Bush to be the next president of the United States.
Now, if this doesn't leak, the Texas delegation is going to be the first to learn Bush's choice. Are you and the rest of the Texans walking tall this week?
Well, of course we are. We're very, very proud of George Bush and the job that he's done and the position he has on the issues, because we think a majority of the Texans agree with George Bush on the positions that he has taken on the major issues of this campaign.
Does your party have to win Texas in order to keep the White House?
No, I don't believe that it does. But we're going to win Texas, let me assure you of that. But we have broad support in the West and the South, and that's a very solid base from which to work.
All right.
The Democrats have taken quite a gamble, and we'll see whether it pays off. We don't think it will.
All right, Fred Meyer, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Tomorrow, the Republicans gathering will get into full swing. The first floor session will begin early in the morning. The evening session includes addresses by two potential vice presidential picks. And, of course, it will be a special night for President and Mrs. Reagan, who will take center stage. We'll see you tomorrow live at noon, 5, 6, and 10. And, Barbara, you'll be joining us tomorrow here in New Orleans. Have you packed yet?
I'm going to do that as soon as I get off the air here. I look forward to it. Thanks, Clarice.